Hello, you're welcome to Success SK Masha. My name is Olumide Arideli Success. I'm a quality assurance engineer. You can also call me a product quality engineer. Alright, so today we're going to be looking at Cypress test automation. In the previous video, we have done how to locate web elements in Cypress. So there are other videos that have been done on Cypress, but today we're going to look at assertions in Cypress. So, what are assertions in Cypress? It's going to be in two parts, part 1 and part 2. So this part, we are going to look at assertion to equal should have the text, should have the value, class ID, should have the HTML, should have the HTML and have attribute, should have the HTML and have that attribute and include, and should contain. Now, before we go into each of these, assertions are just a way of verifying actual results, okay, against expectations. All right. There are different forms of assertions, such as the one we have just mentioned. So, when you are doing manual testing, you have your test case, and in your test case you have your test scenario, test step, and of course you have your expected result. So when you test, you are checking for the expected result, then you document your actual results after testing. So the way to actually know that your test is passing or is failing in test automation is through assertions. So that is why we have this, and we are going through this in Cypress. So in Cypress, the way to find out whether your test is passing or is not is via assertion. So let's get started. So this is our test file, and in the test file, I'm going to create a folder on the E2E folder, right? I'm going to create a file in the E2E folder. And in this our test project, I will create a file called Cypress. Let me just call it assertions.cy.js. Okay, and I'm saving it. Now, having done that, the first thing you want to do is to click describe. All right, your test suite is always wrapped in describe block. Okay, so I will call it assertions in Cypress. Okay, and I'm going to write an arrow function. Okay, and I'll press enter like this. So now the first one we want to look at is to equal, assertion of to equal. So now I'm going to open the web browser. So on this my web browser, I'm going to search for Cypress test automation by Success SQA Masha. Okay, and I'm sending it. Now it is currently loading and it's coming up. So on the web page, I have something like this. All right, and what I want to do here is actually to validate that this Cypress test automation by Success SQA Masha is present in this input bus. Okay, this is an input bus, and I'm going to inspect. So I'm currently inspecting this input bus on Google, the Google input bus. From this input bus, I can see that it has some HTML elements, right? But I want to find out whether my test, my expected test, is what is showing in this test bus. So the first thing I need to do is to copy to locate the web element. So we are going to use the class to locate it. So if you check this down, you are going to see class of glfyf, all right, attribute of class, and this value. Okay, so I'm going to write class attribute equals, right? So let me take that again, so it can be a lot easier. Just copy this guy, all right, and paste it here, then put it in square brackets like this. If you can see what I'm doing at the bottom here, right? So you will see 1 of 1 right here. So it's matching. But I want it to be more, much more precise than that. So I'm going to use this tag test area at the back of it, just right here. So I'm going to write test area, all right, and it's still matching. So I will copy this. But when you click on this bus, you are going to realize that it's actually highlighting the bus itself. Okay, it's highlighting the bus. You can see that. So I'm going to copy it. I'll copy this. All right, and after copying this, I will paste it in. I'll paste it in my Cypress, in our test file. So I'm coming to my test file, and the first thing I need to do, first and foremost, is to access the URL of the site before I use that locator. So if I want to use that locator, I will say site.get, okay, and I will paste it like this. Okay, I'll paste it in. Now the reason why it is showing is underlining it as an issue is because you cannot use double quotation, okay, both on the element and on the to wrap it as a string. So what you need to do is to change one of them to a single quotation, a single quote like this. So like that, it will be fine. Now, just like I said, we need to access the website first, the URL. So first we need to do is to say site.visit, okay, and we are going to copy and paste the URL to that site on this very locator. Okay, now let me go to Cypress, to the web element, and copy this URL right here. I'm going to copy it, come back to Cypress and paste it in. Okay, I just pasted it in. Now we can access that web page. So from here, because I want to do an assertion of equal to, I need to create a callback function. So I'm going to do then, all right, I will bring out my parentheses, another one like this inside of it, creating an arrow function, okay, then I will press enter. Now, having pressed enter, I need to pass a parameter into this then method, okay. I need to pass a parameter. That parameter is what I am saving this element in, this locator. I'm saving it inside that parameter. So I will call this parameter element. You can call it anything. You can call it anything, but I'm calling it element. So I'm going to say expect, okay, because I'm going to say expect, and I will say element. I'm expecting this element dot text. Then this is a method, so you have to put the test method. Then you are going to say dot to equal, right? Then what am I expecting? Going back to the web page, this is the test I am expecting. I'm expecting this exact test. So what I am trying to validate is that this particular test now is actually showing or is available on this in this input feed, this test feed. All right, so now I'm going to copy this. I'll copy this, okay, and I'll go back to my code editor. So in my code editor, this is what I'm expecting. So I'm expecting that the site should have Cypress test automation by SQA, success SQA machine. So now in explaining this code, it is like this. I'm saying that this locator should be saved inside this element, all right, and I am expecting that this element, that is this locator now, this input feed locator, should have a test that is equal to this test. All right, so the test should be equal to this. All right, that's a way of validating actual against expectation in Cypress. So to equal to. Now let's find out whether it is working as expected. So what we need to do is to open our Cypress test runner and then run the test. To bring up your Cypress machine, all you need to do is to type nps cypress open. and it will open up for you. Now, if you don't know how to do that, please go back to the previous video I have done on this series and you will see how to get that done. It is easy. So I'm going to collapse this, and then you will see our test file right here, Assertions. So I will click on this, I will run it by clicking on it. So let's see what happens next. So Cypress is currently running. So our test is actually not running. So what we need to do is to use the it block. All right, as you can see, we did not actually run put a command, a test. We wrote a test suite, but we not actually write a test before writing our commands. So I'm going to go back to our test file and do just that. So in our test file, we are going to write it assertions. So I'm calling this assertions, and then you write an arrow function, okay, then just like that. Then all you need to do is to copy all of this, okay, copy all of this into this file. So having done that, we run our test again. So the test is currently running, and let's see what happens. Okay, from what we can see here, it's saying syntax error, recognize expression. So let's go back and see why that is happening in our code. So actually, we ought to put a symbol like this. All right, we ought to put these square brackets in it. So, and here should be test area. All right, from what we copied in the DOM. So let's do that again. Okay, that's already done. As we can see, expected Cypress, as you can see from this test runner, you are going to see what it's saying. We expected Cypress test automation by Success SQL and SHA to equal to what? Cypress test automation by Success SQL and SHA. So now it means that we are expecting this test, all right, and we got this test, so it's equal to it. So that's why it's passing. So if I should change a test, so let me try and change something so you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to remove this X, this T. I've removed that, and I will run the file again. Let's see. So I'm running it again. So I'm expecting it to fail. I'm expecting it to fail because we have changed something. Now, because we have changed something, it's failing. Okay, it's failing. And why is it failing? It's telling us that, if you check, it's telling us that, oh, we expected Cypress test automation by Success SQL and SHA to equal Cypress test. So we are expecting this, but this is what we are getting. So if you will see that the T that we changed is actually reflecting here. So this is what we have in our test file, but this is what is seen. All right, this is what is seen on the web page. That is why it is like that. Now let's continue. Okay, so I'm going to change it back to, I'll make the adjustment, and then we can continue from here. Now the next one I want to show us is the dot should have dot test. Okay, so with the same locator, I'm going to copy this guy, okay, and duplicate it here. All right, so having done that, I'm going to remove all of this. They are not needed right here. So I'll say dot should, okay, should have dot text, okay, should have dot text. So what's the text I'm expecting? I'm expecting Cypress test automation by Success SQA Marshall. That is what I am expecting here. Therefore, it is expected that this guy will also pass. So now let's run the test file. So we are running 2 tests already. So let's see, both is expected to pass at this point. Now, very good. If you can see, you will see to have the second one that we did just now, assert is we expected, all right, test area this to what, to have test Cypress test automation by Success SQA Marshall. So in the DOM, all right, in the DOM, the test is present. Okay, so that is why we can assert it and have it. So there is a test in this input feed called Cypress test automation by Success SQA Marshall, and we can also assert it. Now, going forward, the next one I'm going to show us is should have dot value or class or ID, then value. Now, this is what I'm saying. If you come into the DOM, all right, if you check the DOM, you are going to see that this thing has a value. Okay, this particular HTML has a value, and the value, as you can see, is Cypress test automation. This guy that I'm seeing right here. Okay, value Cypress test automation. So I'm going to be using this, and also it has an ID. There is an ID that this is having. It also has a class. This is a class right here, a class of GLFYF. It also have this ID. Okay, so I'm going to test with value, ID, and class. So I'm copying this ID right here. Now I'll go back to the code, and I'm going to type sci.get, okay, test area. You don't have to type it, you can just copy it. All right, so I'll say dot should have dot value. Okay, the value should be what? The value would now be this Success SQA Marshall. So I'll paste it here. So let me copy this locator properly and put it where it's supposed to be. So I'll put it here. All right. So I'm expecting a value of Cypress test automation by SQA Marshall. This is the value. Now, again, I expected it to have a class of. So I will put it here and say dot should, okay, have dot class, right? Have dot class. So what is the class? This is the class right here. We copied it from the DOM, so it's still the same thing as this. So I'll be pasting the class here. Okay. Then the next one is to have an ID, right? To have an ID. Dot what? Should have dot ID, and then I'm copying this ID and putting it in the right place. So this ID should be here. Okay. Now let's run the test. So go back to our test runner and run the test again. Now, as you can see, everything is passing. Now he's saying the first one we did was to have value, to have this value of Cypress test automation by Success Masha, also to have a class of this guy, and also to have an ID of this. So all of that are passing. So let's go and check another one. So we have dot should have dot HTML. Okay, so have HTML. So let's do that. So I'll come here, I'll paste. Now all I need to do is just to change this to HTML, right? And the HTML should be this Success Masha. This is what I want the HTML to have. Of course, Success Masha is part of the HTML, details in the DOM. So we are going to run this as well, and let's see. So I'm running it again. Okay, this is also passing. Expected to have HTML Cypress test automation by Success Masha. So that is right there, and it's passing. Now, the next one is talking about HTML and attributes. Now, in Cypress, you can use hand to further assert on specific value or element or attribute on your test. Okay, so we are going to use the hand method or assertion method here and not with should. So what we do is simple. We come back into our test file and copy this. All right, having done that, we paste. We now say to site.get, okay, get this element for me. The element should have an HTML of this, and okay, having that HTML should now have an attribute, have dot attr, that's attribute. So what is the attribute I want it to have? I want it to have probably a class attribute. Okay, I want it to have a class attribute. So let me go back to the DOM and show you what I'm talking about from here. Now this is the DOM. Okay, I want it to have an HTML of this, and also have an attribute, this same locator, to have this element to have an attribute of class. So there is a class here. You can say you want it to have an attribute of ID. You can say you want it to have an attribute of anything, but right here I want it to have an attribute of class, and I'm expecting class. So I'll go back and run the test again. So that is rightly passing. You can see, as you can see, to have attribute class, and it does have it, and that's why you are seeing it in green color. So that is fine. Now the next one I'm going to show you right here is to include. Okay, so it should have, the element should have a particular HTML to have an attribute of a particular value or a particular attribute. Okay, it could be class attribute, it could be ID, it could be any other thing, and to include. All right, so this attribute should include this. So now let's go and let me show you that. Let's go back to our test file. So I'll copy this again, right? I'll copy, then I'll paste, and having done that, I will now say dot and again another and include. Okay, that's and include. All right, so the class should include this because this is actually the class. So let's run this and see what happens. So it is running currently. Alright, as you can see, it is passing as well because the class is having an attribute of this. So in the DOM again, if you check the DOM, you are going to realize that there is a value attribute here. So I could just change this. It has a value attribute of which include this Cypress test automation this. So I could just change it here as well. Instead of using class, I will just change it to value. Okay, and the value should return this. The value as includes this test. Okay, so I can just paste this here, all right, and say I want to receive this text back. So let's run that again and see. So it's currently running. All right, just as we did the other time, it's also passing. Expected Cypress test automation by SQL Marshal to include, all right, and this is what we expected, but we are certain that to include this, right, and it's including it. It has it there, so that's why it is passing right there. Now let's check again. The last one here should contain, all right. So we are going to use this as well. On this, we go back to our test file, okay, and let me just copy any of this. So I'm copying this, and right here I'm pasting it. So here I'll just edit to have .html to contain. Okay, so I'm saying this input field, okay, all right, in the DOM should contain Cypress test automation by SQL Marshal. So I'm going to send that, and let's run it and see. All right, so this one is also passing too. Now to contain, so let's go back to check all that we have done. Now from the first one, you will see to equal, to have test, to have value, right? Then you will see to have class, to have ID, to have HTML, right? You will see to have attributes, to have HTML, okay, to have HTML, to have attribute value, okay, then to have attribute value as well, then to include, and then to contain. So these are the various assertions that we have done in this part of the series. So in the next series, we are going to look at the second part that has to do with should be checked, not to be checked, not be checked, visible, be enabled, contains value, .length, and a whole lot of other assertions that you can use in Cypress. So that will be all for today, and if you like this video, kindly subscribe to our channel.